Today, did British universities pay to spy on pro-Palestine students?
To think that, universities were paying an external company to keep track of things that, me and my peers might have been posting on social media really wasn't within my kind of, imagination at that time.
A new investigation uncovers the limits to organizing for Palestine on UK campuses. I'm Malika Bilal, and this is The Take. Hey everyone. We know that as an audience, there's a lot of news that you're trying to keep track of. And at The Take, we're doing our best to cover it all. So leave us a comment about what stories you're keeping an eye out for and what you want to see on your feed. We really do take the time to read each and every one. Now, here's the show.
I'm Aaron Walawalkar. I'm a reporter at Liberty Investigates and a Bertha Challenge Fellow. And Liberty Investigates is a small team of journalists in the UK focused on exposing injustices. I'm currently in Bristol, one of the universities that featured in our report, but I'm normally based in London.
Well, Aaron, welcome to The Take. We are sitting down together today because you recently broke the kind of news that will make a person stop scrolling. That is literally what happened to me this week, thumb in midair, when I saw this headline on al-Jazeera.com. British universities paid security firm to spy on pro-Palestine students. Tell me about the investigation that led to that headline and what you found.
So we've been looking into the repression of protesters in the UK since the encampment movement started in 2024, when video emerged of students in the US in handcuffs and lecturers also, facing all sorts of issues. We began to look into what sorts of things might be happening in the UK that were going on behind the scenes. So I started by submitting freedom of information requests to all of the UK's 150 plus universities, asking for things like their correspondence with the police, discussing pro-Palestinian protest activity, and also their conversations with each other. And that unearthed for me the existence of this membership body that exists between campus security teams in the UK, where they kind of discuss and share advice on how to manage protest activity. And I noticed that they're sponsored by a particular company called Horus, which specializes in providing intelligence. So then I was curious and then submitted another round of freedom of information requests to all of the UK's universities, asking how much have they paid private intelligence companies to provide intelligence on protest activity over the last few years. And what came back was that 12 British universities have been paying a security firm set up by former military intelligence officials to monitor the social media of students and staff, some of whom have expressed solidarity with Palestine.
Wow. Okay. All right. Wow. So provide intelligence. Did you ever think that you would need to use those words when talking about some of these elite universities in the UK?
No, I think that, university is a place where students go to kind of engage in discussions. For me, it was like a really profound experience for me, finding out about, I studied politics about a decade ago in the UK, and it really opened my eyes to the world, getting involved in all elements of kind of student activism, and to think that, universities were paying an external company to keep track of things that, me and my peers might have been posting on social media really wasn't within my kind of, imagination at that time.
So Liberty Investigates published this in partnership with Al Jazeera. And as you mentioned, this probe into what and who Horus is and what their affiliation is with these universities is a year in the making. So tell us what you found about the company at the center of this investigation. What is Horus?
So Horus was founded in 2006 in Oxford. It began life as a project with Oxford University's security team, and it was set up by Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Whiteley, who, according to its website, has a 23-year-long career in military intelligence and counterintelligence operations across the world. More recently, in 2020, it was joined by Colonel Tim Collins, who is quite famous for his role in the Iraq War. who recently has made some public statements around pro-Palestine activism.
Statements like what?
So recently he's made some kind of public statements around pro-Palestine protest activity that includes attributing the size and scale of protests in the West to a Russian-Iranian orchestrated media campaign, also calling for protesters who misbehave to be deported.
Okay, so we have a colonel who is known for his role in the Iraq War, who's now heading this organization?
He's listed on the website as one of 4 senior leaders of Horus's parent company, Horus Global. He's listed on the website as one of 4 senior leaders whose expertise is integral to kind of the work that it provides on behalf of its clients, which includes universities.
Okay, so what kind of work was Horus doing for these universities?
It's been tricky to find out exactly the nature of work that it's been doing. Most of the universities that I requested information from have been unwilling to share a lot of that detail. But from 3 universities, we have been able to kind of get some insight into what's happening. So one university, the London School of Economics, receives regular encampment briefings from Horus.
Wow.
Documents that it's been receiving since the encampment movement started in May 2024, where the kind of Instagram posts and X posts of students across the country who'd set up encampments are kind of compiled into a digest, along with kind of notifications about what protests might be coming up. Another type of service that they've been providing are background checks on external speakers in relation to what's known as the prevent duty in the UK, which is kind of part of our counter-terror laws here.
If you contact us early, and unless you want us to, we won't tell the person you called us. Every year, we support many people move away from the path towards violent extremism.
One aspect of that is that universities have to have an obligation to kind of ensure that any speakers that are kind of invited onto campus don't express extremist views or views that would risk drawing people into extremism. So one university, Manchester Metropolitan, commissioned Horus to conduct a background check on a American Palestinian speaker, Rabab Abdelhadi, who was affected. That involved kind of trawling her social media presence, assessing kind of various allegations made against her. I reached out to her to inform her of what happened, and she was, really shocked and appalled to have been subject to this level of scrutiny.
Because she didn't know until you reached out to her.
Exactly. She'd been invited to give a lecture to students at the university in memory of a student called Tom Herndl, who was at Manchester Metropolitan University and was shot and killed by Israeli sniper in 2003 in Gaza. She accepted that opportunity and, felt that it was an honor to speak on behalf of anyone that gives their life in solidarity with Palestine. But she didn't have any concept that in doing so, the university would then commission this company to conduct a background check on her.
Well, how personal did this get then? Who else did you find was being monitored, and how closely?
Yes, so we also spoke to a student at LSE, Lizzie Hobbs, whose tweet was flagged in a briefing sent to her university's campus security team. At LSE, they were, if I remember correctly, one of the kind of first encampments in the UK to have faced legal action from their university. And Lizzie tweeted about it.
What did she say? What did she write?
Lizzie tweeted that we may have been evicted, but we're more powerful and organised as a collective than we've ever been. So that was one of thousands of tweets that has been compiled into daily encampment updates and sold to universities for around £900 a month. In total, I found that universities had spent over £400,000 on Horus's services since 2022.
Wow. That brings me to my next question. and that it must have been a pretty awkward phone call, because I can't imagine, here you are, Aaron, you're breaking this news to us for this investigation, but before you published it, you've had to break the news to the people who you found were part of these reports. What was Lizzie's reaction? What was that phone call like?
Her reaction was a mixture of kind of shock at the fact that the university was paying an external company for this information, and also how systematized it was that not just her university was doing it, but potentially many others for £900 a month, as well as a kind of lack of surprise, as a lot of student protesters, are aware that they're being watched and they've been taking measures to try and protect themselves against that.
I know Horus didn't respond to your requests for comment for the piece, but on their website, they say they operate with strong ethics and within the law, which of course is the key thing, within the law. So based on your reporting, how does that hold up?
So the UN Special Rapporteur for Freedom of Assembly and Association, Gina Romero, said that, the use of artificial intelligence to kind of gather open source information does raise profound legal concerns, in the sense that, AI can be used to gather disproportionate amounts of evidence on students by companies which, are not subject to public scrutiny. And we know that Horus has been gathering open source information, and based on its website, it's been integrating AI into its kind of operations, but there's still more to be kind of uncovered in terms of how artificial intelligence is used specifically in relation to the intelligence that it gathers for universities. That was one of the questions that I asked Horus in approaching them for comment, which they unfortunately didn't respond to.
What I'm wondering is, why did all these universities choose Horus in the first place? What's the link?
In terms of, what about Horus appeals to universities, we approached all the universities mentioned in the article, all 12 of them, for comment, to ask them about, why they used Horus's services. And many of them also didn't reply. So that includes the University of Oxford, University College London, King's College London. Those that did reply, they generally say that they rely on Horus's services to kind of horizon scan, as they call it. So they want to have advance notice of any issues that might have kind of security, kind of consequence for their campus. They all generally say that they uphold freedom of speech, and that their kind of use of Horus's services isn't intended to discourage activism, and that they're not asking Horus to brief particular individuals, rather provide intelligence on, potential security issues such as protest activity, which might, as a result, kind of uncover information about students. So,
Aaron, you touched on this earlier, but this reporting came out of a larger investigation you've been doing into how universities in the UK handled the pro-Palestine campus protests and the encampments that began in 2024. And I wonder now, looking back, overall, how would you say universities handled those?
Looking back now, I think that it's a mixed picture. What the investigators have uncovered, however, are some really sort of concerning examples of protests being cracked down on. Some of our findings include how between October 2023 and March 2025, 1 in 4 UK universities have launched disciplinary action against students and staff in connection with their pro-Palestine activism. We've also found cases of, a case of students being convicted of trespass after occupying their own university building. We've generally seen what the UK's kind of largest union representing teaching staff and academics has described as a worsening crackdown on student protest activity in the UK.
Well, finally, Aaron, now you have students who might read your piece and assume, rightly, as some of the ones you talk to, that their posts are being watched. What would you tell students?
I would tell students that if you, have read this article and you're concerned about, that you may have been affected, since publishing the story, my inbox has been inundated with emails from academics, students at a number of the universities who, are really concerned about what has happened, and they're desperate to find out more. They want to know,
Wow.
have they been affected and how do they find out? And we've launched a project called the Campus Accountability Mapping Project, or CAMP. You can find it on campusprotest.org.uk. And on that website, we've got some template forms which students or staff members can submit to their university to request all the information that's held about them. That's how I was able to help the Palestinian American academic Rabab Abdul Hadi to obtain a copy of the Horus report that was done in relation to her. And other people were able to do the same by visiting the website and completing the same form and submitting it to their university. So the first thing is, if you want to kind of stand up and do activism, it's important to know what the potential risks are. And one way to unearth that is by requesting all your personal data from your university.
Aaron, love an action item. Thank you for your reporting and for your advice on what to do if people find themselves in the midst of it as well. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.